Hi, so I'm going to do a quick little video about kind of my food history, because I struggled a little bit today with wanting to kind of eat crisps and trying to find something sugary to make myself feel better while I was getting tired and, you know, looking after kids and stuff. So I thought it might be a good opportunity just to chat about my food history and why I sometimes feel like that. I've also got washing up to do. Obviously the kids have gone to bed, but I need to now do the washing up and put a load of washing on and tidy up and stuff. We've just had the online food delivery come through. We have that kind of delivered. It's supposed to be at 8 o'clock, but so sometimes they're early, so they give me a text and see if they can deliver early, and they have. So I put away all the you know, frozen and the kind of fridgy type food, so I'm just gonna have to have a little tidy round just to put everything away, so we at least got somewhere to eat our breakfast in the morning and some clean bowls to eat that off and stuff. But I just thought I'd have a quick chat while I was putting the washing together on the load and do some washing up. So I will start with my food history. I've got it written down on a piece of paper. I'm just going to run through a few bits that I've thought about so far. So, a long time ago, I had my daughter. She's now 9, and when I had her, I didn't really know what I was doing, as nobody does when they have their first child, etc. And she didn't sleep through till she was about 2.5. She used to wake up in the night about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then didn't go back to sleep again till about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I found myself kind of just giving into it, really. I didn't really know how to deal with it. I just coped, and the way I coped was she'd wake up at 1 and I'd go, right, okay. I obviously try and settle her down a bit and stuff like that. That didn't work, so I go, okay, well, if we're awake, we're going to be awake. Otherwise, I'm going to be here trying to lay down with you in a darkened room, you not sleeping at all, and I'm going to go berserk. So I used to just get up, and I used to just sit. We used to have a computer at the time, and I used to just sit in front of the computer, and I'd bring up one pop-up and put on, can't remember what even we used to watch at the time. It was iPlayer or YouTube, might have been something like that, a long time ago now. And I used to put up one screen for myself, and I used to kind of browse the internet at the same time while she'd be watching like something, and I just used to eat. I used to eat jam on bread and just anything I had in the house. And at that time, obviously, I wasn't eating very healthily, because I, didn't really very much think about slim world. I just eat. So I think that process started where I knew I could keep myself going through eating. Started then, and it sort of just carried on, really. I think, obviously, then having my second child a few years later, I just did the same thing. Obviously, having 2 children at that point was very, very tough. I then realised quite a bit into my second child that I had quite obviously had postnatal depression over the period of the 2 children. I obviously hadn't bonded very well with my daughter, and with my second child especially, I got really quite bad in terms of, I felt that I was going to die all the time. I felt very much like my life was slipping away from me, and I used to be really scared to go to sleep, because I'd feel when I went to sleep that was me dying, and I'd really, really struggle with that. And I also I lost the ability to care. Like, I lost the ability to care for myself. I lost the ability to kind of brush my teeth, make sure I've got clean clothes, have a shower. All those things just slipped away. And I was left without a desire to feel any better. Obviously over the time I've kind of come out of that, but one thing that's still remained is the sort of food usage, I suppose. I think for quite a while I didn't care whether I felt well or not well. And one of the things that did used to make me feel better, well, I say make me feel better because I don't think I cared whether I felt better or not. It just wasn't a thing, but I used to do it to eat. It used to give me some space in my head, I think, a distraction to it all. And I used to, you know, that's what I used. And I think sometimes nowadays I don't really realise just how far I've come, really. Right, that's the washing on. I'm going to move up to the washing up. I'm going to put you in the cup cupboard. Okay, here goes. Let's see how this works. So this is going to function as a thing while I'm moving good. So I'm going to be standing here. It kind of works. That's a bit glary, isn't it? Try and tuck it down enough so the glare's not there. Just like that. So yeah, I think what I did was end up using food as a way of having a break when there wasn't a break. So when I felt like I had to do something and I couldn't, like for example now, ideally I go to bed. That would be ideal. But I'm not going to go to bed because I've got so much stuff to do, and I'd actually benefit from getting stuff done than going to bed right now. So I'm going to do it. And so often previous to this point I would eat in order to keep going, so that then I could do the jobs and stuff. Nowadays, of course, what I tend to do is actually plug my headphones in. I've got those, there they are. Plug them in, what I mean is plug myself into them, wear these, and I watch YouTube videos, and I watch, you know, I for example put Jane Day on, and she talks to me for about 20 minutes, half an hour, about how to kind of, you know, little nuggets of information, and that carries me through half an hour, and half an hour you can do quite a lot in half an hour, so that's what I tend to do. I struggle when I mean sometimes I can make myself a hot drink, and that will allow me to sit and just enjoy that hot drink instead of having to kind of eat my way through, like trying to maximise my rest. A quick look just to see other types of bits and pieces. I'm conscious I don't seem to have a lot of space on my, it's saying basically I've got up to 10 minutes to talk, and I'm already on 8 minutes, so I might have to pause and then put the two videos together. So at this point I didn't really know that I binged. Put that there so it's in the clean pile. Put this across. Oh, at this point I didn't really know I was binging. I didn't know this was a thing I was doing. I just thought it was something I did to kind of keep myself awake. And it wasn't really until I did Slimming World that it really became more obvious that what I was doing was binge eating and comfort eating. So it took quite a little while before that actually sort of occurred, and then once I'd realised, it then took quite a little while for me to kind of dwindle down the types of things that I would eat, you know, and I understand to sort of work through the whole trigger foods thing, and to, you know, to think what food I'm eating that is triggering me to eat more of it. And it took such a long time, and I was just watching Katie Jane SW just earlier, and about the fact that, you know, even after all this time you still get trigger, you know, little trigger foods that catch you out still. I was going to do a little list of the trigger foods. I think it's running out of battery, so I'm going to pause here and start again. Yeah, that's better. It wasn't running out of battery, it's just running out of memory space because I hadn't been deleting my videos as going along. So yeah, so I was just yeah, so by this point I had figured out that obviously what I was doing was binge eating, therefore I had to work through my triggers. And at that point, one of the main things that happened was a Friday. So at this point my son wasn't at school, and he used to go to nursery school, and what happened on a Friday was that I had him all day, and I would go shopping on Friday for our week's food, you know. And I think because he was so young and didn't, you know, he was so amenable, he was such an amenable little boy, that we used to then, you know, go in and get our shopping and such, and we would, and you know, obviously you go to a juice section, there's little pastries, and maybe get some crisps, because, you know, he wants some crisps, so we'll get some crisps. We get like a little sort of sharing pack of crisps. And I think I got myself into a habit of basically prepping for a binge, really. And this was before I knew that I was binging, as it were. At that point it was just having chill out food, you know. It was getting dips and crisps to kind of have, and as we would unpack it all, because it was so good, I brought all the bags in, and he would help me unpack it all. He would lift it all out, and we'd put it all on the table, and you know, we'd have a little nibble of it as it came out, and you know, we'd put him, and you know, would be settled in, and then we'd sort of finish at about 12, probably emptying it, and then I'd put DVDs in for him or something, and then I'd invariably just kind of, as I was putting away, just kind of eat it. And I think I got myself in such a pattern. I remember one time I'd gone shopping, and I can't remember why, but basically it was him. We'd driven to kind of quite a secluded area, like, you know, to the edge of town. And I remember I bought a sandwich, like one of the really big Ploughman's, like long roll, and then like the kind of Max paprika crisps and some lemon drink. And I remember I sort of bought him a little sandwich and some crisps. I remember just sitting there with him in the car, and I remember just thinking, I think this is not actually good behaviour. I think this is actually a little bit secretive, and a little bit you know, prepping for binging. And I think at that point I then started to do some research into thinking of what, because I think at this point I just thought maybe I was just comforting, you know, it's, you know, not a big deal, but I think I realised that was encroaching into binging, and lots of the behaviour around that was that case. And I think I'd accumulated so much support out of food that I just felt I wasn't getting anywhere else in my life, that nowadays I really struggle with believing I'm gonna get it from anywhere else. My first thought when times get tough is, what are you going to eat to make this better? And my brain runs quickly through, is it chocolate? Am I doing crisps? Is it going to be bread? Like, it thinks of a way out for me. Just going to pause there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure I got to just pause that temporarily. Let's have a quick look at this. I'm just going to quickly run through what I've written down. So I've eating as a way of having a break when there is not one available. I think we've covered that. Eating crisps. Yeah, so over the time I have started to dwindle down on the types of food I binge on. I kind of liken it just to taking the top layers off. So it's like I've taken off the main binge ones. There's still the occasional here and there, but it's sort of, I've just been reducing the reasons to binge over time, that's all. It's like, say for example, I might have binged or come for 8 because I wasn't feeling very well, or maybe I was tired, whereas now I might make myself a hot drink instead and have a little chill out first. Maybe, you know, watch a bit of YouTube to keep me on track. And there's different ways I've kind of used now to cope, which might be another video actually, kind of coping strategies. So I've done that bit. Yeah, and also my inability to ask for help. I didn't help when my kids were small. I had trouble relinquishing, and mostly because when the kids were small, if I asked for help, it wasn't given. So there's a bit of you just thinks, well, I'm just going to do it myself anyway. Did that bit. So I suppose it's just obviously then with Slimming World I struggle with limitations and any sense of deprivation that I struggle. Then that just, you know, like even just really light deprivation, like I don't know, say for example, I think, well, I want some squash, and then I think, no, you should really have water. And then like sets me on a deprivation cycle, even just changing that one tiny little thing. So yeah, I associate certain food with calm and company, and you know, it's like the foods you grow up with and all that type of stuff, and it's foods you eat when you kind of have a moment with somebody, and it's foods you eat when you're having a chill out with a cup of tea, you know, it's biscuits and things. So just a there's the other bits as well. Yeah, so you know, my main ones are just biscuits and crisps and kind of white bread with jam and cheese, and you know, all of those types of feel good foods, and easy access foods. You know, my comfort and binge foods were never very complicated foods. They were foods that I'd already have around the house, and they were foods that just filled me up really quickly and easily and gave me a sugar rush. Something else. Yeah, and then the other thing was that once I had realised that I was comfort eating and binge eating, and then tried to kind of do something about it and stop myself, I've quite quickly developed secret eating, because you know, you'd say to people you're doing Slimming World and such, and then I'd still want to comfort myself with food, so therefore I would just hide it, you know, and I maybe would only have a small amount of it, and I wouldn't want the kids to have it because then I couldn't have it. So I'd, you know, do things like hide it in the car and then make an excuse why I would go out to the car and then go and eat it just quickly. And I think it's just so many of those types of things that make me feel that I'm not in control of my own body. My main reason to kind of come away from binge eating and comfort eating, well, comfort eating the wrong foods really, I suppose, is more appropriate, because in reality you can comfort eat and Slimming World very, very successfully, because you just have a nice relaxing meal which comforts you. It's a warm, you know, a warm soup can be comforting. Is, you know, it's not. And I think once I'd realised the distinction between binge eating and kind of destructive comfort eating, and being able to gain comfort from my food, it sort of all started to click into place a little bit better. Yeah, so what I'd really like is to remove that bit, so give myself a bit more brain space, give myself a bit more ability to deal with things better, which I have over the time accumulated, but it just give me a bit of space in my head that I can use for other things. I think that's kind of mostly what I'd wanted to say. My little piece of paper. So obviously this is a big old concept and a big old thing with loads of connotations. But I think what I'd like to know really in response to this is, firstly, it'd be great to know if chatting about this has kind of brought up anything within you or anything you kind of think about. But I think I'd really like to know what, if anything, helped you realise, if it's something you suffer with obviously, that you comfort ate and binge ate. Like, was there a scenario, was there a moment in time that you realised that what you were doing was destructive and what you were doing was an addiction, and what you were doing was a kind of was an issue you had to deal with? So I think it would be really fascinating to know those moments. Like, you know, I've spoken about those moments there where I realised I was, you know, the moment in the car where I realised I'm putting myself in danger and my son by kind of building him in habits of eating kind of 4 packets of crisps in a go. I mean, just thinking that that's quite a normal thing. I mean, even now he does tend to eat like more than 1 packet of crisps, and I don't have them in the house because obviously I'll eat them. I tend to buy packs of popcorn instead of crisps because it's just a lot easier to kind of, you know, the same sort of crunch and the same sort of deliciousness, but it's a lot less easy to overeat, especially kind of, you know, really salty type crisps and those sort of things. But when sometimes we do have them, he don't just have 1 crisp, and both of my children are the same. They'll eat more than 1 packet, and don't really want that for them really. I want them to enjoy them, have a little few crisps and enjoy it, but be all, you know, not have any sort of connection to want to eat loads of them. It's just not fair on them. So yeah, it'd be fascinating to know about that as to moments of realisation, just because it's so useful to know. It's so useful to know hidden issues, because obviously you don't realise you've got them. So thanks so much for watching, and I'm hopefully going to do another video on ways in which I have kind of used to cope with tricky situations that doesn't involve my trigger foods. So hopefully I'll do another video on that. And then what was the other thing I was going to do? Yeah, I'd like to do the non-scale victories one. So I've got that on the go, and I'd also like to do a video on things that work so far. So every now and again I just you know, do a piece of paper where I just kind of write, I kind of reach a bit of a crossroads and I write everything down that I want to talk about, and yeah, I just want to talk about things that work so far for me at the moment, you know, things that don't work, things that do work, so that I can kind of focus on what's working for me at the moment, so I can kind of continue to do those things. And if there is trickinesses along the way, I can kind of iron them out just to make sure I'm keeping on plan and keeping the weight off so that I don't go back up 3 stone or so. And thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time on the next video. Get my little finger in to press the off.